Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
I've been racing ever since I was about 7, 8. Recently joined the Superkart series about 3 years ago now, doing the 125 shifters, and I love it. It is the best sport ever. Superkarts is all to do with carrying speed around corners, not bogging down, not having to change gears down, so that's a big learning step for me.
After racing here in Australia for two years in 2014-2015, we thought, let's take on the world. We won the Australian Championship. So we thought, let's go over to the UK. We raced the British GP in 2016 and we won that. Did really well, we surprised ourselves and we thought, what's the next step? We went into 2017 and tried to do the European Championship and again, surprised ourselves. We won that in the single cylinder category. So the next step was to hop into a twin cylinder international car.
It's always fun coming from last because you get to put on great moves and stuff and try and get up as far as you can, and it's sort of like when you start last you have nothing to lose, but when you're starting on pole it's a bit more scary because you've got a whole pack behind you and it's always good fun.
It's an important weekend for the Australian Superkart Championship because it's the final round of their national championship. So there's a title to be decided and lots on the line between the fastest go-karts in Australia, if not the world. Gary O'Brien, if you haven't seen superkarts before, you're in for a surprise because these things are remarkable. And at the front of the field, we have got the fastest guys in the country. Geordie Ford and Isla Harpus go from the front. Anton Stevens and Matt Bass from the second row of the grid. We're on board with one of the all-time greats in Gary Pecoraro. He's off the third row. These cars around here are as quick as a sports sedan. It's extraordinary.
It is, and you're an inch or so off the ground, or 25 millimetres in the new language. And you see they start in two lots here, the 250 national and international at the front of the field. Then we've got the 125s and stock Hondas in behind them as they head down through turn one the first time.
And I'm not joking with the lap times I was talking about. They're doing 129s at Sydney Motorsport Park. They keep up with the supercar around here. Isla Harpus, number one, reigning defending champion, leads them through. Pecoraro's got ground, so he started back on the third row of the grid, but he's already got himself up with clear racetrack.
How's your neck muscles?
Yeah, the physicality of these things are just unbelievable. I struggle in a hire kart, Gary, let alone a national superkart doing 29s at Sydney Motorsport Park. Oh.
As you can see, a big field of karts here for the last one. Interesting, all the championships are up for grabs. Now we can see Anton Stevens moving through ahead of Gary Pecoraro on the opening lap.
Under brakes for the hairpin, you can see Gary with his left hand reaching to the gear shifter. There it is. Push forward to up change, pull back towards the wheel. It seems slightly counterintuitive compared to a road car you might have or a race car with the sequential shifter, but it works for the way these karts are so physical and the force is exerted on the drivers who are, as you mentioned, so low to the ground and in such a violent environment. Such a short little throw on the gear shifter as well.
Ilya Harpus out in front at the moment with Stevens in second and Pecoraro in third. They head down again through the corners. Here we've got a replay of the start, and Pecoraro got away really well, didn't he?
Good start. Committed to the outside at turn one. Had the 8 of Anton Stevens just in front as he went through.
The vibration in the car, so you imagine what it's like from a physical point of view. And I think that was Stevens ran a bit wide at turn two.
Yeah, he did, and Pecoraro was there at the moment to dive up the inside. You mentioned class battles in superkarts, so 250s out in front, 125s have been putting on a show this weekend as well.
Yeah, and their championships up for grabs as well. Nick Chambry, who has been the front runner, would have had 2 wins to his credit already, but had a water hose come up off on the last lap of race 2, so he's had to fight his way back through from towards the back of that grid.
It's Jeff Reed, Sydney sider in the 34, just making a nice pass around the back of Corporate Hill. Battles all the way throughout the field. Massive field. More than 30 arrived this weekend. They put on a great show.
Paul Campbell, another one in contention for the 125 championship. And there you can see he's battling very hard with Aaron Cogger and actually gets the slipstream working and got time to even have a bit of a adjust to the fuel mixture as they head across the start-finish line.
Well, and that's just allowed. I don't know if there's a hesitation or a bit of side draft effect because these do have an aero effect, but Cogger got a really good run alongside at the end of the front straight. It'll send it the long way around at turn 2. Opens the steering. What about a switchback manoeuvre? It's not quite on yet, and the 20 holds on, but this is a terrific battle. And how's the just leaning over with the wrong side of your body to tweak the air fuel mixture in the straight? So here's the move. So there was an aero toe, and then he's not even clear. He just has a casual look down. Oh, I need to sort that out. Tunes the cart up on the run into turn 1, which, by the way, is one of the fastest corners in Australian motor racing.
And flat out in one of these vehicles as well. So mine back on the job and holds the line going on the inside of the corner. Still, it continues.
Just a great break there. You can hear the torch of tyres going into the right-hander. It's such a critical corner at Sydney Motorsport Park. If you get a good run out of there, you can line yourself up for a good run through the final complex and then try and get that pass done up towards the top of the hill here, or even better, get a toe down the straight.
And that's exactly where Cogger is at the moment. He fights to keep in touch as well.
So in terms of lap time, the 125s are in the 36s and 37s. And here's the return of serve as Cogger looks to go around the outside. They're on the final lap of the race.
And there was almost a nonchalant shake of the head there, wasn't there?
He had no answer. Needs to tune it the other way, perhaps. Running out of laps to do it. One tour of the 3.9k circuit to go. Ilya Harpus, well, he's the champion. He's got number 1 on the Nassau panel of his kart for a reason. He gets the checkered flag, wins the race. Terrific performance. And here's Gary Pecoraro, one of the all-time greats in Australian superkarting. And a really feisty opening lap gets across the line. Nick Shembry and Rose, 5th and 6th. Cooper Campbell, Robin and Stewart rounding out the 10. So let's dive straight into highlights now from the championship defining race in Australian superkarts. And this one, late in a sunny afternoon here in Sydney, went right down to the wire, Gary O'Brien. But Ilya Harpus, he was out in front, off pole position, tough to beat.
Well, that's the place to do it from, isn't it? And in an endeavour to seal your 4th title, you want to try and make it go right. Don't want to have the pressure put on you. Get out in front and go for it.
There was also a fight on for the 125 championship. Campbell and Cogger were in the mix of it. This was an odd coming together up at the final corner. Mike Fisher in the 9, Michael Doherty in the 67. Contact, both out of the race.
Yeah, cost Doherty the round win for in Stock Honda as well, unfortunately.
Harpus found himself out in front, and this needed to be a measured drive with no mistakes, because if he finished in that position, the championship was going to be his. Off the road up at the run-up into turn 1, which is a high-speed approach. It's Bart Kerno, the 125 class, found himself out of the race and out of harm's way, but there was no stopping this guy. Ilya Harpus, already a 3-time champion, and with a victory, made it for Australian Superkart champion. And by the way, the 125 title came down to a count back, and it went to Aaron Cogger by virtue of finishing in front of Paul Campbell. Sydney Motorsport Park has been the scene of some pretty cool races over the years, but for a sports car racing fan, it doesn't get much better than Group S. This is the heritage of sports car racing in this part of the world, and indeed internationally. And they've been a feature of this part of the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast, brought to you by Driving Solutions today. Wayne Seabrook and Stan Adler, a couple of Porsches go from the front row. Terry Lawler, though, Gary O'Brien, the big grunt of the GT350 Mustang, will be one to watch today.
Yeah, didn't get a great start, did he? And it's all Porsche up the front as we see him get on the way for this race.
Well, it's the Mark Donoghue unfair advantage for the Porsches off the line in this category because their rearward weight distribution, big fat rear tyres, and they don't have the same horsepower of the Shelby. But things are more equal when they run up the hill towards turn 2. Corvettes in this field, MGs a little bit further back, Mustangs and Porsches. If you think GT3 racing now, this is like the heritage version of that back in the day. The high performance sports and supercars of the road of the era tuned up to go racing.
Yeah, up until the end of 1974, this category covers, and like Group N, it's divided into A, B and C, depending on what year model vehicle you're running with.
Let's just take in and enjoy the onboard action Mr. Lawler's providing us here in the Shelby GT350.
Likes the Frank Gardner school of steering, where you feed the wheel rather than the more traditional hanging on 10 to 2.
You're hanging on for dear life in one of these things around this place. They're just awesome to watch though, and the competitive balance is quite good. Wayne Seabrook was on pole by a margin, but the racing since then has been terrific, and Stan Adler in particular, but Doug Barber as well, who's in that 911 car with the Martini livery, have been competitive and close, and they've been pushing this guy particularly hard in this stunning Porsche 911, 3-litre flat 6. Just about the peak era of Porsche 911 performance. Certainly the famous whale tail body shape.
And as you can see, already starting to pull something of an advantage. Wayne Seabrook has raced most of the race tracks over the last couple of years. Likes to be part of his Australian tour of winning in Group S type racing.
And feel just a minute for Simon Meyer in the MG Midget, who's racing in the top 10 in a field of cars with 15 times the kind of firepower. Here's a look back at the start. So not a great launch for Lawler. Barber's start though in the Porsche was excellent. Launched across to the inside, but was gobbled up by the Shelby Mustang on the run up into turn 2. Where's the Porsche? About to emerge inside the driver's door there, I think, at the GT350.
Yeah, the Myers in their MG Midgets really punch above their weight in this category, and often taking it up to the Porsches and the Shelbys that are up in front of them.
It's 1,300 cc's, the Midget. 1,300 cc's against the GT350 Mustang, which is 4,728, and he's using all of them there as Terry Lawler powers himself up to 3rd place and leaves Doug Barber standing still in a straight line. So it must be frustrating for the Myers. They'd be so good on a short track. They probably wish that this whole race was done on the Druitt circuit as well, because a little shorter lap would have brought them a little bit closer. But gee, they fight well. And the fact they're getting into the top 10 at all is a remarkable achievement. Shows how hard they're driving them.
Yeah, and let's not forget Alfa Romeo, a big name in Group S in sports cars, also ran in Group N with their 1750 GTV. But these cars, a little bit aside from that.
There's Doug Selwood going around the outside at turn 1. This is Terry Lawler. Well, horsepower's a thing, and there's a fair bit of difference between these two. That's the easiest overtake that Terry will ever make.
This car prepared by the Tillys as well, and Terry was actually going to sell it, and then decided he liked it so much he's going to keep it.
And here's that battle we were talking about. It's the other of the Myers, Simon, in 131, putting some heat on a big Ford Mustang. Gobbles them up through the corners in that initial phase of getting out of the corner, and then it's goodbye Mustang. Straight line performance, so handy. But watch the braking under the stoppers down here into the right hand of this famous hairpin, which is one of the best overtaking opportunities at Sydney Motorsport Park. 53 is about to gobble him up as well.
Speaking of gobbling up, I think that there you go, Meyer getting past there by one of the Porsches, and the Datsun coming into play as well.
So that's Aaron Smith in the 280Z. Those Z cars were awesome. Front engine, rear wheel drive, really nicely balanced. In their day, a match on occasion for the Porsche, but Meyer's doing a great job. He's got in front of both of them in the midget.
And he's now in the part of the circuit where he can really relish, because his car would be much superior over the back part of the track.
Yeah, well, he's got to get his head down now. It's through this high-speed stuff where that car with its lightweight will be able to have a slight advantage. By the time they get round to the braking point at the hairpin, he'll be gobbled up. No stopping this guy, though. It's a beautifully presented car, and Wayne Seabrook is driving it superbly. And for Group S, it's going to go the way of Porsche. It's car 27. It's the New South Welshman on top at Sydney Motorsport Park. Wayne Seabrook wins again in Group S, and the margin back to Stan Adler is quite significant at the end of that one. Great racing, though, right throughout the field. Terry Lawler, a well-deserved podium with the Porsches 1 and 2, the Mustang in third place. We'll jump into highlights of the finale for Group S now, and this was as close as it got for Wayne Seabrook. Launched the car off the line, but burst into wheel spin. And that was all the invitation that Stan Adler needed, Gary O'Brien.
Yeah, he got to the lead, and even he had a little bit of a side movement as well, but good to see Stan get up in front. 9-11 performance is his business, so he knows Porsche's pretty well back to front.
Doug Barber in third place in the 9-11. Now, car number 13 was going to be a star of the show. There was a terrific scrap all the way through. That's Aaron Smith. He's in the 69 Datsun, the 280Z, powering past Calvert Jones in the 40. But check out Damien Meyer in car number 13 in the thick of the action, and this lasted every single one of the 8 laps of this race.
Made a move on Canine to start with, and then thought, well, maybe I can go around the outside, but ran out of room just there to effect the pass.
This was a change of the lead. Seabrook down the inside at turn 1. It was pretty easy. There was no real fight from Stan Adler. Knows when he's onto a good thing, slotted into second place, and Seabrook put his head down and drove away. Meanwhile, this continued. The little midget trying to work his way past, couldn't quite get there in the end. And it was a terrific weekend. Wayne Seabrook got the victory. It was a dominating performance all weekend long. Porsches swept the podium in this final race for Group S. Thanks to Driving Solutions. We'll check the results. Kevin Luke just off the podium. Aaron Smith 5th. And look, the midget, it got into the top 10. By Paynter Dixon. It's the Heritage Touring Cars. They're out for the feature race of the weekend. This is the big one, Gary O'Brien. Ford Sierras have been dominant so far. Do you think anyone else can get a look in this one?
Yeah, keep an eye on Adrian Alesi in the Walkinshaw. He might be a half a chance here, starting out of position 4. Greg Keane, we've seen what he's done already, and Craig Nelson in that Mitsubishi Starion.
So here we go, 600 horsepower Ford Sierra RS 500s on the front row. Terry Lawler, who's been doing double duty in Group S in a Mustang this weekend, and Tony Karanfilowski, who's been doing the same in TCM. They're both in the Sierras, and it's Lawler who gets the jump and the run into turn 1. Chris Stillwell is third, and like it was in 88, 89, it's Sierras 1, 2 and 3 leading them up the hill into turn 2. The Netcom Skyline is there in the back of the pack. BMWs, Walkinshaw Commodores, it is a great sight. Lawler with a bit of a moment, trying to put all that grunt to the ground. Has a slide on the exit of turn 2, but Karanfilowski's in a world of pain, bashing the thing off the rev limiter out of turn 3, wheel spinning his way through in second place.
They always said in the day they were very hard to manage all that horsepower, and we're seeing it again today, haven't we?
It's a great example of the Aussie effect on global Group A racing, because this part of the world built the fastest Sierras anywhere. Dick Johnson took one of his to Silverstone for a Group A race and had them all blown away before it broke. They're still competitive to this day. Richard Allen, he's been quick in the E30 Evo.
Yeah, and he's chasing the earlier model JPS car.
How cool does those things sound, Gary? It's amazing. And the Starion, unfortunately.
I put the mocker on that one straight away. Craig Nelson in a little bit of drama and falls back down through the field.
That car, at least one like it, the making of Brad Jones in his very early days while he was racing on the Thunderdome. That was the start of his touring car career. Of course, Glenn Seaton jumped into his own race team, jumped out of the factory Nissan squad to run some Sierras for himself and Alan Jones, and very, very fast. JPS BMWs in the pack. And then the little Toyota Corollas that Bob Holden made so famous. Still drives them, still races them. hugely popular, iconic figure in the paddock.
I think there's about 8 or 10 cars of his, whether they be Escorts or Toyotas, in this field. So he covers both. Oh, a bit cheeky there from
Tony Kay. Good pass. Came from a long way back. Let's watch on board. So Terry Lawler's in front, the ex-Dick Johnson racing car. Had it all locked up, had the rears locked, had no revs, and had to get first mid-corner up at turn 2. But managed to get it done, and through they went.
some more cars from the Group A and Group C era, as we see the Nissan pick up the spot on Tony Pallas's Jaguar, ex-Gary Wilmington car.
Sorry, I was just listening to the noise of that Jag. They're an amazing race car, an unlikely Bathurst winner with the Walkinshaw team. And the Recar Group C Commodores up the inside. Now, here's Lawler. Great run out of the final corner, and he'll switch back up the inside. It's interesting with these cars, they are absolutely period, and that is down to the year that they ran. So late in their life, the Sierras were homologated with a 6-speed Hollinger gearbox, but early in their life, they only had a 5-speed gearbox. And Chris Stillwell was telling me that his car's homologated or certified as historic, but with the 5-speed gearbox. So he's giving away a little bit in performance by the fact he's only got 5 gears, and the later spec cars have got 6. It's just a little bit of extra horsepower. And even though it's historic racing, Gary, they're still fiercely competitive, these guys and girls, just want to go fast.
Motor racing drivers don't like getting beaten by anyone, do they?
This is a great battle. Look at the Escorts side by side, just a bit of a rolling roadblock. Marston and Holmes Capri just in behind, and XG1 Tirana.
Here's a replay of this passing move on Lawler on Karen Pulaski.
The irony is that these cars are probably better presented now than they were back in the day because they've been so beautifully looked after and restored. And this was a bit of a sign for Sierras in the day as well. It really is period motor racing because smoke pouring from Tony Karamfilowski's car, and he's got issues. That's dropping oil onto the rear tyres because he got to mid-corner at turn 2 and the thing had no grip. And the dashboard looks like it's lit up like a Christmas tree. Warning lights everywhere.
Yeah, normally turbos on these cars in the period, but I think this is a bit more terminal than that. This could be engine, although I wouldn't be driving it back if it was sounding like that.
It may just have been a turbo that would explain the white smoke. So check it out. When he gets the car turned in here, it'll snap violently sideways. Had to get a lot of lock into it, and from that moment, his race was done. So sure, Spencer Rice and the team at Classic Speed Shop, we prepare this for Tony. We'll go back and have a look. It's been a stout weekend, though. He hasn't had this car for a huge amount of time, Gary, and they're such difficult animals to drive. He's getting better and better every time he gets behind the wheel.
We've got Frank Bining in the ex-Army Reserve Falcon, a more tractable car to drive from the Group C period, and showing the way to a couple of Group A cars.
It's Graham Crosby VK just in the back. That's a cool thing. First of the Commodores in the Group A era. What a weekend, though. Ex-Dick Johnson racing car. It's been a big year for 17 and Shell Fords, and it continues in Heritage Touring Cars. Terry Lawler gets the win at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Shell racing car, even down to the helmet.
Chased to the line at the end by Chris Stillwell. Adrian Allisey on the podium in the Walkie Commodore. Greg Keem, who's been punching above his weight, the Fox Body Mustang, was fourth. Stick around when we come back from this very short break. A first for the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast. We go two-wheel racing with the Dunlop Sydney TT, and then the final race in Paynter Dixon Group N.
It's great to be with the cars. Just to get out on the track's great, but yeah, a bit of a bigger crowd than we're used to, I suppose, with the cars here as well. So yeah, can't wait. I've got a Ducati 1000, so there's 600s and 1000s together. So it should create some good racing with some of the faster guys on the smaller bikes, and yeah, you see the big bikes overtake them on the straights, but I think they'll get us on the corners. I think so.
I think we are. We're ready to roll. The VC Performance ZX10 and Dunlop ZX10 is ready to go. We're we've been here quite a few times before, so we're looking forward to what is the inaugural event for us here in conjunction with the Master Blaster, so it's going to be a good day. It's a 2017 ZX10 RR. It's one of only 17 in the country. We built it up after we had a big crash at the day before the 5 hour a few weeks ago. It's on the main straight, probably 295-ish, about that. I don't know. I don't have a speedo, so we don't look at it. But you spend a lot of the lap over and about 200 k's an hour, so it's a quick place.
Sydney Motorsport Park's seen some two-wheel action. In fact, the long circuit is named after a former world champion. Highlights of the Dunlop Sydney TT Race 1. Two-wheel action at Sydney Motorsport Park. But unfortunately for this race, it didn't get much further than turn 2. A big field barrelling up into the left-hander and contact in the middle of the field. Two riders down, quite heavy impact, and that brought out the red flags. The decision made by race control to end the motor race and make sure that the track was clear so medical attention could be sought for those two riders. They were up and about afterwards, checked each other to make sure they were okay, checked and released from the medical centre here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So we move on to race 2, and Gary O'Brien, this is different. We're getting a Le Mans start.
We don't see that often in Australia, do we? We've seen it around the world, Isle of Man, that sort of stuff, and bikes doing it there. But what a good lineup of bikes, and two categories here. We've got the 1000s and the 600s, of course. And if you're a good sprinter, you might get out in front in this one. There's a couple of slow pokes there, I noticed.
Yeah, if you can't run, you're in a world of trouble. So the drivers to watch: Dean Hasler, Tim Griffith, Lockie Epps, who's an Australian superbike racer, and away they go. So this field could be slightly jumbled in the opening couple of laps. The Dunlop Sydney TT is away. It's the first time we've seen two-wheeled racing on Father's Day at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a great addition to the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast featuring the Australian Muscle Car Masters. Up to turn 2. It might just take a little bit of time for this field to sort itself out.
Certainly a lot of toing and froing and passing, even in the run to the first corner.
3 wide through turn 3. Hard to judge sometimes when you're leaning into the corner like that. Everyone's sorting themselves out through turn 4 and then to Brock 05. That change of direction, which is difficult in a car, but there's an elevation change, rise and fall in the road. The driver's trying to go from a quite quick right-hander to a quick left. And now they stand the thing on the nose wheel and get them turned into turn 6. And then around the back of Corporate Hill. So good, clean opening lap. Everyone's still sorting themselves out. You get the feeling the way some of these guys are racing their way through the field, Gary. The Le Mans starts mix things up a little bit.
Certainly has. Look at the number of bikes too that stand on the back wheel out of the corners. You lose your steering when that happens, so you've got to be very delicate at times on the throttle to make sure that you don't pile off onto the side of the track.
So we'll complete the opening lap. The field's starting to assert itself now as we watch Michael Jeffrey on the 53 coming out of the final corner. Running just outside the top 10. So here's the start. So Dean Hasler is on the 217. He was the first in queue. He qualified on pole early in the weekend and did not get a great start and dropped back to 4th place. It looked like it might have been Epps and Griffith who got a bit of a jump there on our pole sitter at the start of this one. So the Fast Track V8 race replay showing that. I like the Le Mans start. It's easy on a bike though, isn't it, Gary? Because you don't have to strap yourself in, you don't have to close the door, no catch nets or anything. Just jump on and away you go.
Yeah, just as long as you've got someone there holding the bike and ready for you to go.
Change of position up the inside at turn 5. And you mentioned the wheel standing. That is very, very cool to watch.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, they dive right down on the front brake at the braking markers.
There's James Keane on number 219, Kawasaki ZX10R. There's a host of the Kawasaki's in the field, but Dean Hasler in qualifying 1.3 seconds quicker than the field in his BMW S1000RR.
Well, Keane, of course, was the fastest of the 600s in qualifying, so and the only one to make it inside the top 10. So just keep an eye on him. He might be well worth watching if he's got a good sprint to the start.
So here's another look at that. This is turn 4. Bike 18 is Timothy Griffith. He qualified second on 36.93. Here's the change of position at turn 5. So really difficult bit of road in any circumstance, let alone on two wheels. But it's been terrific to see the two-wheeled history of this venue, Gary, reflected in this race meeting, because this was the home of the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix, the greats of the sport. Remember,
Indeed.
Mick Doohan and Alex Creville had a going to here in the 500cc era. Wayne Gardner, of course, raced here in the Gardner GP circuit, named after former Australian world champion on two wheels.
Yeah, I actually went to that first couple of Grand Prix out here for the bikes.
Terrific atmosphere, I would imagine.
Very different from what I'm normally used to.
Yeah, Timothy Rodley there in bike 17. That's a Honda CBR, 1000cc bike. So there are, like so many categories this weekend, races within a race. So 1000cc at the front, but James Keen's been the top of the 600s for most of the weekend on bike 219, the Kawasaki ZX6R.
Big squiggle out of that top corner too. As they get the power down, you can see the bike just, the back wheel not getting all the traction they like, and they get that little squirmy thing going. And I know if I was sitting on it, I'd be feeling very comfortable, I can tell you.
No, you'd be hanging on, as would I, but these guys and girls do it very, very nicely. It's a good squabble. There's just a couple of bike lengths in it, first to second. The run out of turn 1. There's another of those really difficult changes of direction at Sydney Motorsport Park. You've just completed about 180 degrees through turn 2, and then instantly you switch back the other way at 3 and set yourself up for those double right-handers and then into the left. So Timothy Griffith going along well. He's under a bit of pressure from Epis just behind. Correction, that's Epis out in front, who's got a commanding margin. This has been a very nice ride on bike 83. So it's been BMW on pole, but Kawasaki in the Dunlop TT will get the chocolates on Sunday at the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast. What a terrific ride. Le Mans start helped, but it's been a comprehensive victory for Lachlan Epis in the Dunlop Sydney TT. Great ride, really impressive. Tight further down the field though, minor positions getting sorted out in that superbike scream across the line. It's a great show, and it's cool to have some two-wheel action here. So Epis, Hasler and Griffith, the top 3, De Leon in 4th, and Pellegrin rounding out the top 5. Time for some more Paynter Dixon historic Group N touring cars. And this, Gary O'Brien, a special race, the Ray Dean Celebration Race.
Well, Ray Dean, a stalwart of the Appendix J Association of New South Wales. I think they now call it Group N New South Wales or Historic Touring Cars, but yeah, unfortunately passed away, so this is a race in his honour.
Ray Tilley from pole, Ben Wilkinson from the outside of the front row. There is the great man from Sydney who knows how to hustle these things. Ready for a standing start. He's got the front row to himself, so it'll be clear sight lines down towards turn 1. Away we go, big field. Group N still alive and well in Australia, and possibly healthier than it's been for a long time. We'll jump further back, thanks to Raging Waters in Sydney, bringing us this great onboard angle. David Noakes is in the thick of the pack here, running up into turn 2.
Yeah, in the little Ford Escort. Noakes along with Brad Tilley and some others. Oh, yeah, this Graham Wakefield from Queensland hasn't moved off the line. It's a bit unfortunate. In the meantime, it's Mustangs out in front. 2 of them, in fact.
They can get that car clear before this massive field rolls themselves around. They're still sorting themselves out as they run over the hill and into turn 4. Minis at the back, muscle cars at the front. Tirana's in the middle that sort of filled the void between those two very disparate groups. Oh, that's a big moment.
Bruce Drummond in the Tirana, another Queensland car, being a bit of a wild moment there, and I think he had a wilder moment earlier because there's a few ripples down the side of that car.
Jump on board again with David Noakes.
Little Ford Escort, we've seen what they've done in the night time. What can you do in the daytime?
Yeah, so yellow flag, so they brief yellow flag interruption to this race. And Brad Tilley loses that comfortable margin that he built on the opening lap. And will now find himself under a little bit of pressure as the field goes back to green. Down to turn one. Busy, this is 3 wide. Tirana down the inside of Escort and Mustang at 1. To Falcon, and it's going to be the Tirana that gets through.
Stummet and Leinster. And Leinster gets that spot back as they go under brakes into turn 2. Or does he?
Oh, it's close. There's some lock brakes and some hairy moments and some holding of breath, and I think there might have been possibly some contact there. The little Escort got really checked up on the exit of turn 2.
Bill Haddard in the Mazda RX2, followed by Mustang, and then we've got Wayne Rogerson in the second of the Mazdas, the little rotaries that have really come on gangbusters in NC racing in recent times.
It's cool to see them in the field, a little bit of extra variety from back in the day. There's the Dogbone Escort, so named because of the shape of the front grille and headlights, and off the road. That's another one of those Mazdas just wide at turn 6.
That was Haddard, who we spoke about. So he's not a drama, obviously just overshot in the braking area and unfortunately lost several places out of that.
Yeah, it was a strange one. He was under pressure, just went straight on at 6. Didn't really look like he was going to get that car stopped and turned. Back on board with Noakes. Chasing down a Holden Tirana, the exit of turn 9 hairpin.
Would lose a little bit in a straight line, but the cheeky little Escort, it's always better around the tighter parts of the track.
Gee, it screams too, doesn't it? And there's a lock up from the Tirana. He's got it wrong on the entry there, and we'll use a lot of the escape road, and it brings Noakes right back into the thick of the action.
Paoli in the Chev Camaro has found some real competition on the eastern seaboard after some dominant performances in South Australia and his home state of Western Australia.
He raced at Barbagallo in the supercar round over there and was really spectacular to watch at Barbagallo. 25 Tirana down the inside. He's been joined by Dale Perry though at the front in the number 172 Ford Mustang, so there's a good squabble on for the Miners in this. Noakes still at it. Looking down the inside now at 2.
Gets under the Smith Tirana. Lotus Cortina just in front of him now. By rights, he would be about the same performance as that car, an NB car, the Cortina. Actually, it's painted like a Lotus Cortina. I think it's just a Cortina GT though. And he'll make the move on that one down to turn 4, or will he?
Oh, that's a big, ambitious move. And the door was shut, and Noakes did not like it either. There was a very definite hand signal, and I don't think it was a friendly wave. I think he felt like the door was firmly shut, and now he'll try and get the move down into 6. And it's a bit busy here to be waving arms around because you had the door shut. Made the pass, 77 through. Let's have another look at the overtake. Not even a cheeky look, Gary.
Yeah, not even a second glance.
Good pass though, well judged. And now we're back live, and there's more great racing because he's jumped onto the back of the Tirana again. So as always in Paynter Dixon Group N, there's battling throughout the entire field. We're on the final lap. Brad Tilley, he's been the man to beat. Well, he always is the man to beat. This Sydney sider knows how to build a really fast race car. Chased all the way to the line by Adam Walton, but it's another win for Big Brad and car 28. And the Mustangs are 1 and 2 in Paynter Dixon Group N. Heritage Touring Cars putting on a show at the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast. Good battle, Dale Parry across the line. Nicely done. Now there was a penalty post-race. Tilley dropped back to second. Walton given the win. Turn up for the books at the end. Don't go anywhere. There's still 3 big races to come. Production Touring Cars next, then Sports Sedans, and then the big finale for the Paynter Dixon Touring Car Masters coming your way from Sydney Motorsport Park right after this.
Yeah, over the years we've done a few, and currently working on the new Commodore program with a controlled TCM engine. Hopefully we can get Melinda Price into that car, and we're looking after Danny here behind us, and there's been a few others along the way. Well, what you do, you have to get the rule book and interpret it the best way you can. And as things evolve for safety and performance, you sort of marry that into your next build. So what we've learned from JB's car, which is built, probably 6 years ago, it was in the planning, you learn a lot from that build, and then the rules evolve a little bit more, and all of a sudden we've got pretty good cars now. Yeah, look, we have a lot of guys in our teams. We've got guys from our retro workshop, and we've given them opportunities with other teams because we've been around for a while, and often guys have people that have real jobs and sometimes they can't get to an event, so we help send our guys out to, we've got young Will working with Bruce Williams this weekend, and they're having a great time,
I think everyone's having a great time here at the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast, featuring the Australian Muscle Car Masters at Sydney Motorsport Park. We're getting ready for a championship decider. This is the Shockwave Signs New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship. There's a bit on the line in this. We're looking forward to this race, and it's been a battle of the Evos out in front. Vernon and King off the front row. Trevor Simon's going from row 3. Matt Holt will always be one to watch. He's off 4th in this. Here we go, championship on the line. We're on board with Chris Reeves. He's in the thick of the pack. Class racing, production cars, Sydney Motorsport Park. Vernon with the initial launch, but it didn't quite translate into a very good start. And it'll be wheel to wheel on the run down into turn 1.
Certainly the four-wheel drive's just shot away into the distance.
Oh, through a smoke screen.
A little bit of oil covered up from a previous race, but side by side the Evos through turn 2, and Vernon goes into the front. Holt's negated that advantage that they had. He's right behind them, and in previous encounters we've seen that Holt can take it right up to these Mitsubishis.
I love that he's got the performance mode engaged on the HSV's app there on the centre screen, so we can see how many of the 6,500 RPM he can use. He is actually using down the inside, big battle. VZ Commodore dived down 4, had to back out of it. So everyone clearing through. Evo's out in front, but guys, there's a championship calculation we need to take into account for this as well.
Points are classified from the classes. So if you win outright, you only win in your class. And the front-running cars, of course, A1 cars, we've got A2, then we've got B1 and B2, and significantly, the car that's leading B2, Jeff Kite, is the one that's probably in the best position to win this championship.
Great onboard pictures from Josh Muggleton, who's a hugely experienced racer. He's a bit of a guru in the online racing fraternity as well. He's driving the Volkswagen Golf GTI. So Evo, then a couple of HSVs. Then we go back to the first of the BMWs that are such a staple in production touring car racing anywhere in Australia, be it at Mount Panorama National Championship or here in New South Wales.
And here's Chris Reeves in the VW Sirocco, new car to production racing in recent times.
Here's the start. Let's go back, thanks to Fast Track V8 Race.
Matt Holt getting off the line in the HSV Club Sport, running out of A2.
And just driving through the smoke screen cloud of dust through turn 1 from an earlier incident, and now it clears up, not helped by the fact that they're diving into the due west as they head into 1, so they're driving into the setting sun this beautiful Sunday afternoon out here in Sydney's west. It's a terrific day for motor racing.
Trevor Simons, Jack Usenhausen in their different model HSVs. Usenhausen pulls out to try and go around Simons as they go up towards the top of the track, and he's made that move stick. What a great colour scheme on that car, the gold and blue.
Yeah, and the blue changes colours with the different lighting as well. All in the 77, this team's been up and about for some time. Had a couple of Bathurst campaigns and those BMW 1Ms. Winners both at a national endurance race and state level in production car racing. This is a good scrap. You mentioned the different spec of HSVs. VZ Club Sport in behind, VF GDS leading the way through.
And seemingly having the measure of the Muller BMW at the moment, although it does come back to him a little bit under brakes. The earlier model Evo in behind him, as Simon gets a better run initially out of turn 2. They run side by side through 3.
Oh.
with Ursenhausen on the inside of the track, and now Muller might take advantage of this as well. It's still side by side.
Oh, it removed some paint, I reckon, from Osterheisen's car as they went through turn 2. They were banging doors. Terrific stuff. And now young Tommy Miller will go around the outside in 77, and then Evo 6 is in the fight as well. It's cool to see some of the older production cars still in the thick. So this is the move. Simons dives down the inside. Get this at turn 2 because it's a multi-apex corner. A couple of different scenarios of racing line, and they came out of it at just about the same bit of racetrack.
Yeah, and I think what you said is correct. It might have been a slight bit of a brush of doors there as they headed up over the hill.
Don't mind it. Good racing.
There's Corrine Virag, that's Tony's daughter, running in B2 as well. And then we've got the battle of Class D between the Toyota 86s. And that's been on for quite a few meetings with the likes of Harrison Gray and Zach Lebalco and Eden Thornborough, the three main contenders that have been dicing it out throughout the season.
Zach Lachalpo in 212, just leading that little battle pack at the moment. I wonder if Toyota ever thought their car would be so good at motor racing when they introduced the 86. Well, Jimmy Vernon's had a terrific weekend. From a championship point of view, it looks like if they finish the way they are, Matt Holt's going to miss out, and Jeff Kite will be the the New South Wales production car champion, but Jimmy Vernon will get the big prize on race day in this beautifully turned out Evo. Shockwave signs on the side, and here's Matt Holt. And driving it very, very hard. Never going to die wondering at the end of this, is he?
Bit of drifting going on there by the look of it as he brings it out down the straight for the final time.
Great racing. Shockwave signs, New South Wales production cars. Checkered flag out. Jimmy Vernon gets the win. It's an Evo 1-2. Great results racing throughout the field. Matty Holt third, Osterhausen fourth, and Muller. Great drive in the little BMW, rounding out the top 5. And now time to celebrate a champion. There's Jeff Kite, expat from the UK, moved to Australia to go motor racing. He wins the Production Touring Cars Championship. Congratulations, Jeff. A great result. 616 points at the top for him. Matt Holt just misses out. Michael King third in the Evo. Eden Thornborough in fourth. And Harrison Gray completes the top 5. What a great championship. Time for the big bangers. It's the DEA Performance Australian Sports Sedans. They're on the racetrack. It's a round of the national tour. All the big names are here. Brought to you by Shannon's Insurance. And this should be a cracking race, Gary O'Brien, with Tony Ricciardello just continuing along his merry way.
Well, he just needs to keep it consistent at this stage, but you never know because young Jordan Caruso, he's out to make a name for himself, and what a better way to do it than in this vehicle.
From Hyundai XLs to an 800 horsepower Audi sports sedan. It's one of the most popular cars in the country. Here we go. Final time. Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast. The sports sedans are unleashed. Driving into the setting sun. And the Audi will sweep around the outside at 1. He's going to be very, very wide, Jordan Caruso. But he gets the thing turned and through the corner. And now Tony Ricciardello has the job to do.
Yes, he'll also look out for Steve Tomasi in behind him as well. Won't want to let him through because he'll need to get back to lead as soon as he can.
This car runs such a narrow power band. It's stacked gear ratios. He's just missed one of them there, Ricciardello. The change from third to fourth over the hill. Wouldn't surprise me if the car broke into wheel spin and just bumped the car out of gear. A little bit of contact. I think they're clear though.
Because Tony still uses the H pattern. Everyone, or most everyone else in the field, has sequential gear changes.
Just the drop in revs, second to third, third to fourth, is so tiny in this car. Loves operating quite high up in the rev range. And that's the fourth to second shift that you can do with a H pattern gearbox, under brakes into turn 9.
Gets big punch out of the corner though, doesn't he?
Massive punch out of the corner. That short gearing might be working a treat. And Tony looks up the inside. Caruso shuts the door. But the battle is well and truly on. And how many times have we seen these two cars go wheel to wheel at the pointy end of a sports sedan grid?
Yeah, look, they're very close coming down the straight, and now they're side by side. And as you mentioned, we've seen this quite a few times over the past few years, and the Audi seems to hang on, got a little bit more in a straight line, but runs a little bit wide out of turn 1.
Yeah, well, he was wide turning the car in because he had sort of half an Alpha GTV stuck down the inside, but ultimately got it through. They've got so much aero that they can commit on the outside line. Here's the start. Let's have a listen.
It's almost like a miss there too, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a third to fourth shift. That's the wheel-to-wheel fight. So fourth gear through turn 1 off the start. And then under brakes down into turn 2. So that was the launch. And it set up this terrific battle. Tomasi just in close company in third place, watching these two go at it.
Yeah, reigning National Sports Sedan Series winner. Unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, missed the Queensland round, so therefore can't pick up a second title. It's really between these two at the moment.
And right now, Caruso is holding up. Tony Ricciardello gets such good drive out of the corner. Oh, wow, it was so close. It was almost an accident. And he's gone through. There was a hesitation from Caruso. It looked like the Audi started coming out of the corner. He couldn't get a gear. And Ricciardello squeaks through by the hair on his chin, and that's about it.
Looks like there might have been a little touch on that left front. Just a very minor touch. But what great reflexes.
Let's see what happened to Caruso. Coming out of turn 9. Wheel spin, wouldn't change, wouldn't select, crashed the thing off the rev limiter and almost found an Alpha parked in his boot, or where the boot used to be. That was a hairy, hairy moment.
Shane Woodman goes through there in the BMW, followed by Alex Williams in the Rotary. Good to see a Rotary in the field as well, and one that's running up towards the pointy end of the field.
You can hear it too. RX-7 won the National Championship a couple of years ago. Bruce Banks from Tasmania, and Phil Crompton just edges down into pit lane. The Ford Mustang limping home to the garage. That's a shame.
That was on the penultimate lap as well, so only had one to go.
It's been an otherwise reasonably strong weekend for the bright orange car. So this one winding down, Tony Ricciardello lucky to get away with no damage to the famous Alpha, and his search for an 11th championship will go down to the final round. He dodged the bullet there.
There is some damage on that end plate, on that front.
It's very light though. And the 10-time national champion is going to win this race after a very, very scary moment. But Sydney Motorsport Park is all Tony Ricciardello's. He grabs the win. Caruso fought hard for that and may well have held the West Aussie champion out had it not been for that missed shift coming out of the hairpin. Great race, good battle as always in the DEA Performance National Sports Sedan Series. Ricciardello, Caruso, Tomasi, Williams and Woodman next. Colin Smith just down the bottom of the 10. So with a round to go in the National Sports Sedan Series, that man, the West Aussie champion, he's already won it 10 times, leads the standings. He's got a handy margin over Jordan Caruso, and it would take a really bad round for him to lose it. Shane Woodman's third in the standings. Stephen Tomasi looking to get ground. He's fourth. Shane Bradford rounding out the top 5. So from sports sedans to Paynter Dixon Touring Car Masters, we conclude a massive, massive day of racing, a weekend of racing, with the big bangers from TCM, and it's all to play for. John Bauer on board with the Paynter Dixon Tirana. He hasn't won a race in a long time, Gary O'Brien. He'd love to get one today.
Wouldn't it be good to see a Tirana back on top of the podium? He's on the front row, but he's got a Camaro to overcome if he wants to win this race.
Gee, this guy's been good too, Aaron Seaton. He has been so fast all weekend. He'll be a factor in this race. Stephen Johnson from the third row of the grid, the WM Waste Team Johnson entry roll. Ryan Hansford in the mix. Away we go. Final race. Paynter Dixon TCM. Busy turn 1 as it always is.
Rob Hackwood has fallen right to the back of the field off that start. But Hansford's come back strong after having a drama on his
contact. Bow off the road. Bow off the road and runs very, very wide. He'll get gobbled up. Be lucky to be in the top 5 after this. And gets another hit for his troubles on the exit. Adam Bressington, I think, involved there.
I think Cam Tilley might have even given him a little nudge as well.
So huge moment. Bow was wheel to wheel with Roll Harris in the FS Camaro up to turn 2. And there was, by the looks of it, the slightest bit of contact. So that changes the scenario just a little bit. Bressington and Tilley, wheel to wheel. Cameron finally getting on top of the V8 powered Valiant Pacer that's such a fan favourite. We're on board with Aaron Seaton. He's chasing Roll Harris. Mustang and Camaro at the front of the field.
Doing a good job. Hansford in third, Johnson fourth, Dennis Bressington, Tilley, Bow recovering.
Puff of brakes from the front there of car 17, running down into turn 9. There's Bruce Williams, AC Delco Tirana, chasing down Marcus Zekanovic. That's the brand new Ford Mustang of Cameron Mason. Beautifully built thing that had a win in the trophy race earlier in the weekend.
Now we've got Seaton right on the back of Harris. Can he do anything about it? Coming out onto the straight. It's a good indicator of the performance. A 6-litre car, just a little bit stronger in a straight line than the 5-litre rival there.
You'll get an aero assist though. These cars punch a really big hole in the air. So by the end of that straight at 250k, you're getting a bit of a tow. And just closes in and we're going safety car. So the race is going to be neutralised for a moment, and it's because of that. The World Pro Racing Pontiac Firebird that's been really competitive all season long in the hands of the Queenslander. This is that contact up at turn 2. Quite a big whack there from Harris, who was trying to get the EFS Camaro stopped. So restart time. We'll go back to racing. They do a double file in TCM.
And it's Harris back in front again. Now, can Hansford do anything about getting past Seaton? Bressington up the 4th spot. Dennis Johnson, Bow. Zekanovic hanging wide there on the outside of Williams. And McGill hanging wide as well in behind.
Bruce Williams in the thick of the fight. AC Delco Tirana. Let's jump on board with John Bow. This safety car's worked for him because it's dragged him back closer to the leaders and looking to pull a move on his old mate, teammate, family friend, whatever you want to call it, Stephen Johnson.
At the moment anyway.
Well, it's arch rival right now. They're both in calculations for the championship as well. Aaron McGill, Ranger Ford, looks down the inside of Tony Karanfolowski. Good pass. Harris, wide on the exit. They've been pretty lenient with the use of that exit curb at turn 5 this weekend, so there'll be no dramas with that. Ryan Hansford's jumped up into 3rd place, the multi-spares Tirana from Peters Motorsport.
Jim Policina going down the inside of Tony Karanfolowski there as well.
Yeah,
didn't quite get that move done though.
Jim having a terrific season, running towards the top 5 of the championship all year long. This is condensed right up. Bressington's a little bit wide on the exit of their hairpin, but there's nothing in it between the leading 3 cars, 3 different types of cars as well. Camaro, Mustang, Tirana 1, 2 and 3. It's been so even all season long. They've been working hard on the handling balance of the EFS Camaro and really chasing it. And they're not quite there yet, but they're making big grounds. And Woody, who runs Fat Ass Competition, pretty happy with how Ryle's driving the car. Here's Aaron Seaton. He got a great run out of the final corner. Bit of an aero assist, and he's going to get the lead here at turn 1. This is big.
He does it. Gets it through.
Great racing. Really good stuff. And now Harris will try and fire one back as they run up to turn 2. But Seaton asserts himself in front, and now car 30 leads the way. This is cool.
Replay of side-by-side action down at turn 1. Not the place to be on the outside at some speeds like that.
Just about at any speed. But Ryle did a very nice job until that V8 Ute racing experience. Those cars didn't have a lot of traction and grip either. Bow on Johnson. It's cool to even be able to say that. And the Paynter Dixon Tirana will slice down the inside at turn 6 and grab a spot away. And now Adam Bracington in the VDC car, and a thumbs up to Stevie J, who's got championship points on his mind. Yeah, he didn't fight as hard as perhaps he could have, and I think JB appreciates that.
Another great battle going on behind there. Zekanovic, Tilley, then the 2 Tiranas, Williams and Policina follow them through as well. So fighting going on all over the place here.
Yeah, as is par for the course in Paynter Dixon Touring Car Masters. Bressington feeling the heat from John Bow. Bresso won at the end of last season in Newcastle. He's always a contender. Next round at Mount Panorama he'll like. Let's see what Bow's got in a straight line up against the VDC Camaro. Well, it's pretty good.
And side drafting might help him into turn one. Certainly does. And the brakes, of course.
Right on the edge of the rev limit there as well, but manages to go down the inside. So this is the pass on Bracington. You can see the 350 Chev in the Camaro assert itself at the end of the straight, but I think you're right, bit of an aero assist. And a very, very strong 5-litre engine under the bonnet of that Tirana did the job. Now it's Torrey v Torrey. And Bauer's got a great run out of turn 5 on the Queenslander. The multi-spares Tirana will not stand in the way of the 5-time champion.
Loves that corner, turn 6, doesn't he? He's done a lot of passing there this whole weekend.
Well, he's got himself to third. Just missed out on a win earlier in the weekend.
Change of position up the front of the field as well.
Yeah, so Harris gets past Seaton, who hesitated on the final lap of a race earlier this year as well. And he's dropping back into the clutches of John Bauer, who might be able to snag himself a P2 in this race. Nothing between the top 4. What a great show Paynter Dixon Touring Car Masters have put on here at the Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast. Here's Seaton out of the final corner and hesitating. He's going to get gobbled up here. Oh, and now the race leader's slowing as well. Pulls to the inside. Bauer gets 1. Bauer gets 2. He's going to steal it from nowhere. Bauer wins at the Tirana, steals 1 at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Ansford gets into third spot, so Tirana's 1 and 3. Harris in between them. What a finish.
Check this out. Bauer out of the final corner, driving as hard as he possibly can. And that is music to his ears. A race win. His first for a long time in the championship. The 97th of his unbelievable TCM career. Well done, JB. A winner in Paynter Dixon Touring Car Masters. Harris and Hansford on the podium. Seaton led on the final lap, ultimately finished 4th. Well, the results of all that mean the championship is well and truly wide open. Johnson, Bauer and Harris right in contention. Adam Bressington's definitely a shot, and Jim Policina, well, he might fancy himself a chance going into the final 2 rounds. Well, that's it from Sydney Motorsport Park. Thanks for joining us, and on behalf of our entire team, we hope to see you at the next Paynter Dixon Sydney Master Blast on Father's Day in 2020.